right. Okay. Well, welcome to today's Natural Healing Study Group show. It is the 8th of June, 2020, and we're rock and roll and getting into the heat of summer. And I wanted to welcome everyone to our call. And we are Robert, Carrie, Bro, two bros, Bobby Bro, Carrie Bro. But we spell we put our healing, our website and our channel and everything is TUBEROSE, TUBEROSE. And that's a healing flower. So we kind of made a little play on words. Our last name is Bro, B-R-O-E. Both of us together, two bros, but we spell it like the healing flower. So we're both natural healing practitioners, authors, lecturers, and we've been practicing together for over 30 years. I mean, I was 5 when I started. No, I'm just kidding. But we pretty much have had a difficult patient practice, I would say. Our interests are wide. Bobby and I have both a lot of similar interests. We overlap, but then we have our specialties within what we do. And I think we've got our knack for a difficult patient practice because we think outside the box. We see a lot of people, not only in our clinic, in our office, but online and phone consults, but we see situations that can't get help or haven't gotten help from conventional medicine and other natural practitioners. So I say it's a difficult patient practice because we have a knack for finding the things that people have missed. There's a lot of common sense things that have been forgotten or not gone over in such a quest to get somebody on medications in the medical merry-go-round billing system, and just how people get put through these revolving doors of health. So our ability to think outside the box, and you're combining two minds when you talk to us, but we have a lot of overlap, and we've got a lot of different topics that we like to talk about, a lot of breadth and a lot of depth. So without any further ado, today's show, we want to talk about how relationships fail, the connection between hormones and how you feel, and creating healthy hormones, and then a little bit on dopamine and oxytocin, and if we can get to it, well, a little bit on summer meals, because we're getting into summer, and there is a lot of emphasis on food, although we have talked extensively this last year on light, how important light is, and how detrimental and harmful electromagnetic fields are, and how that affects so much. So without any more rambling, I'm just kind of letting people get here. I want to just turn it over to Bobby for a little bit, and we will start. Thank you for tuning in.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about hormones and how they're made. People don't really understand that. And hormones are basically made from proteins, the structure of them, proteins and minerals, vitamins. And when we're in the sun in the morning, without any glasses on our eyes or contact lenses, the ultraviolet A that comes about 10 o'clock into our eyes, we make specialized neurotransmitters, neurohormones, dopamine, melatonin, serotonin. We talked about that. And this is going to fit into our talk in a minute. But also, the rising sun, when it first starts getting light, that color of the blue with the red from the sun, tells our pituitary gland to start producing, have the body start producing hormones. So our endocrine system starts producing hormones, and this happens till about 10 o'clock until ultraviolet A shows up, as I mentioned. So when the ultraviolet A hits our skin, it produces nitric oxide, which dilates the capillaries, brings the blood to the surface of the skin to allow it to get irradiated by the sun. So in our blood cells, we have special proteins called aromatic amino acids two of which you might be familiar with, tyrosine and tryptophan. These are hormone precursors. And they have porphyrin rings, or 6 carbon rings, that are photon traps that trap ultraviolet light and carry that into the body. And this is used to make hormones and things that are necessary for all these specialized functions, emotions, and things that we need to have in balance. So we have a lot of problems with people in their relationships, and this definitely affects the quality of their health. When your relationship is faltering, your health will not be very well either. So I just want to talk, why do we fall out of love? When we fall in love with someone you love back, suddenly the world begins to make sense. With higher voltage, you flow with inspired ideas. Life takes on a rosy glow, and the wings and halo of your loved one are clearly visible. Yet if things take their normal course, you'll soon look back on this brief interval of heightened awareness as the honeymoon period and regard it as a sort of deception. It's not deception. Something quite real is going on. A complete circuit of energy is flowing between your hearts. It's actually making you more energetic, expanding your perception, and profoundly improving your body chemistry. When humanity learns to follow this spiraling energy upward all the way, we'll tap into something truly profound. This flowing circuit between lovers is nothing less than a path to enlightenment. However, most of us never make it anywhere near the penthouse. Instead, we get off somewhere around the 3rd floor and swiftly begin that familiar downward spiral into the mundane, too often followed by a nosedive into the basement. This happens because the physical part of us is operating on biological autopilot, and we have it's assumed a will of its own. There's another kind of ecstasy possible between intimate partners. The valley orgasm, as distinct from the conventional peak orgasm, occurs spontaneously in the deep state of relaxation and is a very powerful experience which is felt in every cell, every particle of your being, as an exquisite ecstatic melting. The feeling of connection with your partner is profound. Your whole being is shared with your partners, and theirs with yours, in one flow that knows no boundaries. There's tremendous power residing in male and female. Think of 2 poles of a magnet or terminals of a battery. We're all closer to being gods and goddesses than we think. There's a sense of all the time in the world, of being in eternity, of having more and more energy available. To find this valley ecstasy, one has to pass up conventional orgasm. So there's something called orgasm hangover that happens. Strange things happen to our perception of each other after the high of orgasm fades. You can think of this shift as a hangover, a temporary phase of subtle uneasiness that follows hot sex. Symptoms can include feeling drained, irritable, energy imbalanced, health problems, and most significantly, a growing aversion to one's own sexual partner. So usually we project it onto our partner or the world around us, imagining that he or she or the circumstances over which we have no control have caused our malaise. This hangover problem may be the reason much of humanity bought into its weird notions about sex in the first place. A Taoist master explains, eventually a man can develop feelings of indifference or hate for his sexual partner because he subconsciously realizes that when he has sex with her, he loses those higher energies that could make him a truly happy man. The ancient teachings blamed these troubles on semen loss. So most texts available claim that only men suffer from the negative effects. But this post-orgasmic distress likewise affects women, altering their perception of their partners dramatically for the worse. Though it sometimes takes longer than it does in men. Semen loss is virtually irrelevant with this, what we're talking about. So generally speaking, people are not aware of this hangover. Biology has us so firmly hooked on the neurochemistry that accompanies orgasmic sex that we only take into account its overpowering short-term effects. But have you ever fallen in love with total abandon, experienced wonderful lovemaking, been sure you wanted to stay together forever, and then noticed strange emotional separation developing between you and your lover? Many times we change partners due to this feeling of separation, believing we were victims of incompatibility. Actually, we're victims of fluctuating neurochemicals. That is, our partner looks irresistible as the brain chemistry of initial sexual attraction pounds between our ears. But the fire of passion sets off subsequent changes in our brain chemistry that sooner or later modify our perception of each other for the worse. The warm glow of love that formerly lit up our world mysteriously sizzles out, leaving disharmony or stagnation in its wake. Like an alcoholic hangover, these changes cloud our outlook on life and even our spiritual perception. This radical perceptual shift may be why one tantric text refers to orgasm as the killing of the inner Buddha. Sex activates the pleasure-reward mechanism in the limbic brain, or primitive brain, to encourage us to procreate. It's the same mechanism acted upon by alcohol, nicotine, and many other recreational drugs. It's easy to turn on, but this area of the brain is not designed to sustain continual overstimulation. Excess stimulation causes the pleasure-reward center to put the brakes on. Some of us feel this slowdown as uneasiness, cravings, flatness, or irritability. Others of us just want to get away. Still others feel the desperate need to remodel our partner to meet our amplified needs. Fortunately, the emotional effects of the orgasmic hangover linger far longer than those induced by alcohol. In fact, lovers' post-orgasmic perception can be distorted for as long as 2 weeks, and it often gets radically worse before the end of that time. Most of us have little chance of connecting this hangover with our sex lives because we rarely pass up sexual activity long enough to observe the full cycle. And when we do go without sex, we're usually troubled by the pain of emotional isolation instead. Many of us have experienced sexually active relationships as brutal seesaw rides until stagnation sets in or we break up. This occurs most often because these unsuspected cycles are at work, overlapping each other. When partners hit low points, each tends to project his or her discomfort on the other. Typically, he begins to look at her as impossibly self-centered, insensitive, and selfish, while she appears to him frighteningly needy, unavailable to be satisfied, and demanding. These roles are not gender specific, and the disharmony may take many other forms. When both pull away immediately, we refer to it as a one-night stand. And when both get needy, we call it codependence. Usually, however, one lover pulls away while the other desperately seeks to prevent the impending separation by manipulating, over-controlling, or provoking guilty feelings. Wariness breaks the open-hearted trust that was flowing between them. Typically, one becomes extremely yin, creating an unhealthy suction in the relationship, while the partner goes extremely yang and pushes the other way. During this hangover period, we have a powerful sense that something is not right, and it's not. Unfortunately, this syndrome is widespread, so we try to convince each other that our distress is just life, or it can be fixed by tackling some aspect of ourselves, or avoided by being more selective of our next partner. As the problem keeps reoccurring, Our detailed must-have list for future mates grows longer and longer. It's easy to fool ourselves that conventional sex has nothing to do with our distress because the symptoms rarely show up first as sexual problems. Instead, they present themselves as what we perceive to be obvious personality flaws in our lover or ourselves, such as addiction, nagging, insensitivity, irresponsible spending, paranoia, stinginess, and compelling attractions to third parties. And so we attack the symptoms instead of the cause. Even the happiest looking marriages soon reveal startling gaps between the scenes. It's apparent that there is something more than random bad luck going on. Otherwise, at least half of all couples would be blissfully content and making a lot of love. And they're not. So sexual hangovers resulting in a perceptual shift also adversely affect women, resulting in overall bitchiness, making him wrong about everything, reaching for psych drugs, avoiding sex, feeling unable to cope, insane jealousy, fortune hunting, compulsive shopping, or even kleptomania. Tears and emotional blackmail, neurotic, needy, controlling mothers, and wounded kids. Women can't do much to prevent their bottomless pit neediness and destructive overreactions unless they too address the underlying cause of their natural but avoidable sense of deprivation. If you're living with a partner, chances are your distress will be projected onto your partner. Ask for honest feedback. Watch for emotional separation between you, whoever seems to cause it. When you learn to prevent this potent source of disharmony, you'll find that all the other issues you thought were causing your discord mysteriously grow more manageable. So when you suddenly get smacked by Cupid's arrow of attraction, the arrows are dipped in a lot of neurochemicals that evoke powerful responses in your primitive brain. One of them is PEA, phenylethylamine, PEA, a neurochemical so stimulating that lab mice injected with it bounce around like popping corn. Another is adrenaline, which gets your heart racing. Third is dopamine, also known as the master molecule of addiction. All of this drama is being played out in your brain, not in your genitals. The purpose behind this powerful instinctual response is not love, but reproduction. Your genes, the greedy little critters, will go to any lengths to get you to replicate more of them. Their goal is simple: immortality. So far, at least, they've succeeded. With every baby, we still replicate some of the same genes that were present on the planet's earliest life forms. Our genes measure their success by quantity. The more the better. And variety. Variety allows them to meet changing environmental conditions and still keep the production lines rolling. Quality is not their goal, except to the extent that it makes possible greater quantity. Obviously, humanity has been successful in evolutionary terms. We owe much of this dubious accomplishment to our burning desire to have sex. Our design is programmed with many inducements to keep us reproducing at top speed, especially during the years when we're likely to produce the soundest physical specimens. So when oxytocin levels drop, you do not feel unloving, you feel cut off. Oxytocin's other miraculous advantages. We've only two basic emotions, love and fear. Just as joy, contentment, and benevolence are linked with open hearts or love, so grief, anger, and apathy signal underlying fear or closed hearts. We have enormous capacity for creative thought, but our bodies have only one basic physical choice: ease when we feel safe and loved, or stress when we feel endangered. Oxytocin is somewhat synonymous with love. The hormone for fear is cortisol. Cortisol levels rise significantly when we feel threatened. It's a vital neurochemical with the power to keep us alive under severe conditions like starvation or critical injury, but at chronically high levels, it's just plain harmful. cortisol is sometimes known as the death hormone because when it remains at high levels, it ages us rapidly and lowers our immunity to disease. It literally turns muscle into fat and weakens bones. It's also associated with memory and concentration problems. Too much cortisol can lead to excitability, sleeplessness, and psychosis, and even damage to the brain. It can also reduce levels of estrogen and testosterone, leading to a drop in libido. This is how hormones are made in your body. So, everything starts up here. Cholesterol. Can you see this? Carrie, is this coming through?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I can. Can everybody see it in the chat? If you can't, just put it in there, but I think I got it up there for you.
Okay. So from cholesterol, again, this is something that we're told is bad for us, right? And we're made to be afraid of cholesterol. We're put on drugs to lower cholesterol. This is the source of all steroid hormones. This is the source of sex hormones. And when you don't have enough, you don't have a libido. You don't have a sex drive. So cholesterol is so important to your brain. It's 75% of the brain by weight is cholesterol.
Brain cells themselves.
So there's a flow from cholesterol to pregnenolone that goes to progesterone, deoxycorticosterone, corticosterone, hydrocorticosterone, and then aldosterone. This is the mineral that works on our kidneys that concentrates the urine, allows us to retain our minerals. And when we're under stress, this doesn't happen. So when we're under stress, we have to pee more often. We lose minerals and we get dehydrated because we don't have the aldosterone to concentrate the urine. I've talked about this.
That's why people have said oftentimes, oh, I drink water and it just goes right through me. I just pee it right out because they don't have the minerals to hold on to it. So, and that's the stress. When you're under stress, that aldosterone is not functioning as well there.
So from pregnenolone, you get 17-hydroxypregnenolone, and then this becomes 17-hydroxyprogesterone, deoxycortisol, and then cortisol. This is stress hormone that you secrete when you're under stress. When you're not under stress, pregnenolone becomes DHEA, which becomes androstenedione, or it can come from 17-hydroxyprogesterone.
So a lot of people are put on pregnenolone because they're not eating or making enough cholesterol, so that the additional pregnenolone, then the body has some of the raw materials to make these hormones. You can see this flow chart how that's happening.
So you get DHEA, androstenedione, and this becomes estrone or E1, and then estriol, E3, or they can go estrone to estradiol, or androstenedione can become testosterone. Remember, testosterone is made first, and then estrogen is made, right? So you can go to estradiol, then to estrone, then to estriol. There's these different pathways. However, when you're under stress, the body, for survival, it blocks these pathways down here. You're not making
The sex hormones.
You're not making the aldosterone.
You're not making DHEA,
cortisol.
right?
You're making cortisol for survival. So you don't have a sex drive, right? Now, we've talked about many of the things that put us into this fight or flight mode. Having the cell phone on in your pocket, having a Wi-Fi router in your house, a cordless phone, Bluetooth devices, all these microwave devices, living near a cell tower, all this stuff, Bluetooth in your car, all of these invisible exposures that we're not even aware of are affecting our ability to have a sex drive, among other things, but I'm trying to tie this in with the relationship topic. So it's important that we understand this. And when you're taking statin drugs to lower your cholesterol, not only is it going to destroy your heart, but it's going to destroy your sex drive in your marriage. Also, antihypertensive drugs do this for blood pressure that tons of people are taking. So the relationships fall apart because it affects this hormone balance. It's so critical in how we feel and being able to respond appropriately. So everything goes back to our environment and handling these conditions that predispose us to whether our biochemistry can work right. And the biophysics trumps biochemistry. So go to here. This is our website. I want to show you where you can get the...
Wait, not seeing it yet. You got the, I still see that chart.
Okay, let's see. Let me go back.
So while you're doing that, cholesterol, you can see how important it is. And where people would normally get it would be from foods, eggs, cream, butter, which we're all, we're told not to eat. But those are good foods. And then especially when you get eggs are a wonderful source of all kinds of nutrition. But, of course, you can get good eggs. You want the egg from the chicken that is outside, running around getting bugs, free roaming, being a chicken, not sitting in a cage piled up on other caged chickens, pooping on them and bathed in light, artificial lighting all day. So you want good source to use to get in your body. And how many to eat kind of depends on other things that you eat, but people can eat anywhere from 1 to a dozen a day, depending on how many other sources of protein that you put in. We'll talk about that in another class, but just give you that, something to think about.
Are you able to see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go down to the bottom right to PDF documents. And if we go down to why relationships fail, download file now, you can download that document. And this it's, I think, 13 pages. I couldn't go through it all with you, but I wanted to just hit on some highlights for you. This is so important. There's so many people that are having problems in their relationships because they don't understand this hangover, this orgasm hangover that happens as a result of having regular ejaculatory sex. So you can learn to have a higher form of sex that doesn't deplete you of these hormones, doesn't create the imbalances. It only strengthens your bond with each other, and you don't start fighting and arguing and stuff all the time because of that effect. So a lot of people are suffering from that, and they don't know what's going on. So you have to explore this and start to recognize it when it's happening in your relationship, and then start to create a strategy, learn more, practice new methods to make your relationship better, and this will make your health better. Okay, so on the brochure link, got copies of all of our shows here. This is the one from last week, and you can just click on these and you can watch them right in the window itself, or you can blow it up. You can go to YouTube and watch it. You can share these with people as well. We're also still offering consultation service online, $75 an hour for a holistic consultation. We have of course, our music healing tables, and we have our healing tools, our organite pocket protectors, power discs, power mids, all of that. And these are all available.
Did you have the Geiger counter out? Not today. We maybe show that another time.
I'll show that next time. Yeah.
Okay. But
so
it we'll just tell you these pocket protectors This is one of them. It's got this. The small ones have 4 different patterns on it, and this is one of them. Let's see if I can show you this one. This is the Flower of Life one. I really like that one. But anyway, they're made of shungite, and shungite is that mineral that comes out of Russia that deals with the torsion field. It doesn't stop the radiation in different devices, but it changes the torsion field. But what we did find that it does block gamma radiation. We were checking a granite countertop, and granite emits a lot of radiation. And then we also have a shark's tooth, one of those real big ones from, I don't know.
Megalodon.
Yeah, from one of those eras that there was a lot of radiation on the planet and it was replaced in the tooth. So when we checked it, it was really, really hot, really putting out a lot of gamma radiation. But we put the pocket protector under it, you know, and I mean over it, and it blocked, you know, we put the Geiger counter on top of it, and then it blocked a lot of the gamma rays coming through it. Same with the granite countertops. Granite countertops emit a lot of radiation. So the shungite definitely blocks it, and we'll show that. But you did a video. It should be on.
Let me just show it real quick.
Yeah, you should have it there. But that was pretty fascinating.
Okay, these are this on our website under the Bro Show, and this is the radioactive granite recording here, and it shows the Geiger counter.
Nevertheless,
Anyways, you can watch that there.
Yeah, we got the inspector meter, which shows you the actual reading of that. And, you know, when you put it underneath it, you see the readings go down. It's very impressive, very impressive. So.
Yes, and normally to stop gamma rays, you got to have an inch of lead to stop gamma rays from coming through. So this is amazing. It's a marked difference. It doesn't go to zero. I mean, you're still going to have background radiation hitting that meter coming from cosmic rays from space and from the sun and stuff. But it goes from like 2,200 clicks a minute down to 75, something like that. It's
amazing.
Pretty amazing drop.
Amazing drop. Yeah.
But mainly it changes the torsion field, as Carrie said, that has an adverse effect on our physiology. That's what makes our mitochondria turn off or down regulate, makes us go weak. And then when you have that shungite, it acts as a kind of a antenna that creates the opposite right-hand torsion field that gets our mitochondrial ATPase spinning again and makes us strong, makes our physiology able to function. So it's really important because this stuff is everywhere. They're putting up, what, 60 more satellites, I just heard, into space, and they're going to beam all this stuff down onto us. So it's getting worse, not getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And 5G is going up all over as we speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, shungite is really important. Having a pocket protector, something on your body, actually not only from your own devices, but people around you that have these devices that use them without thinking about you. Because they don't know.
No.
It's like secondhand cigarette smoke. They have no idea that it's affecting your health as well as theirs, their children. So
Right.
you got that protection. It's really helpful.
So and then the power mids, I think I showed this one before. This is one, and this has got a base of shungite in it, and then we also put the toroid coils, and then it has magnets and a this one has a amethyst crystal inside of it. So this is also, we got these molds that are the exact angle of the Great Pyramid of Giza. So they've got that 51 degree angle, which is really powerful, but it puts out a lot of energy in an area. So I just have this around. I mean, I'm hardwired in on my computer, but there's all kinds of fields. You know, the power that comes in the house kind of runs over on my side of the office and over. The neighbors have, you know, router. I mean, their Wi-Fi and different things. So I like to keep this close to where I work. You know, I just keep it in my office and keep it right around my area. So it just sends that off. I also have a big shungite sphere as well. and it puts off that energy. So lots of good things to block and mitigate this left-hand torsion that we're in. We're in the sea of ever-increasing fields. So I want to mention a couple of other things about relationships. We're talking about hormone drops, and so oftentimes, you know, we really get into the physical side, we get into the biochemistry, we're into the physics, we get into a lot of technical details, but there's another side of things. There's the emotional side, the personal side, and everybody has, you know, when we're born, we have, I'd say your planetary or your personal birth imprint. You know, when we're born, the planets, the sun, the moon, all that the planets around us, we're in a certain space in space that kind of records our makeup. If there is something that makes us unique, all of the minute angles of all those planets were at a specific spot when we were born, and everybody's different. And it's amazing when you start comparing people. You know, the first, like Bobby mentioned, that first part of the love is like, oh, it's so wonderful, and it doesn't matter, this person is awesome, and then reality starts to come in, and it's really good to do an astrological analysis of people. And this is fascinating because, you know, we've all heard of our sun signs. You've got your sun in Aries, or, you know, the sun in Taurus or Gemini, and that's the time of year that we were born. It was, you know, where the sun was is it tells us that time, that season, but all of the other planets and the moon were somewhere as well, and they all move around constantly. So how does this work? So when I look at two people and I do a comparison of them, these have ways that you can compare. For instance, if you're looking at the moon sign when two people were born, if one person has, you know, their moon is where your emotions are, how you react to things. So one person can have a moon in a sign that is very emotional. It might be in the sign of Pisces or Cancer, which is way more emotional. It's a water sign. We have to start looking at elements. There's technical ways of looking at this. It's not just woo-woo. So let's just take those two signs that I mentioned. Those are a water element. They're very much more emotional than, say, a sign like Aries or Leo. Those are fire signs, and they're a lot more fiery. So if you have one partner with an emotional-based moon and another person with a fire-based moon, their emotions are not going to be on the same page. One person's going to be all, you know, romantic and dreamy and cuddly, and the other one wants to be the warrior or be the sport person or go, you know, hiking or skydiving, and the other one wants to relax and swim or something like that. So it's important to look at those things. Also, where their minds are, what this person's mental, how does this person function mentally, and how does this person function mentally? If this person is all calm, cool, and collected, and no emotional, that they just want to give you the facts, and this one is a talker that wants to talk all about it, after a little while, it's going to be like, God, you know, when will they stop? And then the other one will like, you know, when will this person add on? So the way their minds work in a relationship, you know, after that initial love is over and you see, is this frustrating or is this cool? Do you like how that person works? Is that, you know, you dig that? Or is it a pain in the ass? Do you have a hard time with it? These are really important things to compare with people. And then to let them know, it's like, if your emotions are this way and their emotions are this way, at least if you know that, then you can agree to disagree. You know, you can say, well, that's how they are, and I love them for how they are, but then you see that's how they are, and not try to make them how you want them to be. So this is really, really important in relationships to see where some of these things are not on the same page, where we're not on the same page with that person. You know, when we compare all these different elements, you compare where all of these positions of planets are, and you compare the element that they're in, earth, air, water, and fire, because, you know, if you think about a fire, You know, water will put out fire. You know, kind of squashes it sometimes, or it creates a lot of steam. You know, those persons can be just real steamy and just and they really like that, or not. So it's all kind of individual, but it's fascinating to compare two people and to help them see how they are and how they relate to each other. And you go, oh, well, that's why you do this, and that's why you do that. And we're not going to stop that. You just have to agree to disagree, and then focus on those things that are cool, that you really like about that person, that drew you in to love them, and let them be who they are. And then as people change and grow, some of these things change, they move forward, or you can take on the characteristics and traits of someone else that you're with. You can take on some of their ways, they can take on some of yours, and you can start to change and work with your emotional patterns, your mental habits. Those are very, very important things that you deal with every day in a relationship, a loving relationship. You know, the sex part is not all the time, of course, but it's those things that we have to deal with, getting along with somebody. You know, are you guys jiving? Are you on the same page, or are you only on the same page in certain areas? So it's fascinating to know that, to figure it out, to look at it for each person, to know how the other one is and themselves, because we don't often get, you know, I don't remember getting the owner's manual on running this body. You know, I had to figure it out. I had to do a lot of looking and research and see how I am. Even though you're with yourself all the time, sometimes you don't know how you are. And when you read some of these things, you're like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I do that. Oh, okay. So
I know it's been incredible for me learning about my mathematical makeup, if you will, the
yeah,
chord that was playing when I was conceived or came into this world. And I've seen so many people transform in their relationships once they get this information. When you do a session with them and you give them this information, it's incredible. Because if you don't know, it's just, why are they like that? You know, why am I reacting like this? And if you don't know, it's kind of like, if you don't understand what low blood sugar is, you get anxious, and it creates more anxiety, more paranoia. It just escalates. So if you understand what's going on, you go, okay, I want to take steps to correct that, and then the symptoms go away, or makes it more tolerable. Same in relationships. So it's invaluable information that you have to offer to people on that level.
yeah. So it's a analysis. I call it a compatibility. You know, so if you're interested in that, you can private message me. I'd be happy to go over that with you, to share more. It's fascinating. It's eye-opening. It's a revelation, and it's all math. You know, when you get down to it, it's all math. It's all geometry. It's all angles. I wish it were a little more woo-woo, but it's not. It's very complicated. But knowing how to interpret those is gold. You know, because it would, you know, save your relationship. Knowing how someone else is, then you can imbibe those principles. You can learn, you know, why there's an orgasm hangover, why there's an oxytocin drop. How am I substituting artificial dopamine hits for real dopamine interaction with somebody? When somebody's giving you those little digs and things, it's like, oh, what's going on with that? So it helps you to understand that, and to kind of put a little salt on that, so to speak.
It also helps you understand yourself, and to accept yourself, to love yourself, and understand why you have certain tendencies, why you react certain ways, you know, why you feel threatened, maybe insecure, you know, all the things that can undermine relationships. And once you see that, then you can accept that part of you and not let it overpower you and dominate you and the relationship. So it's so far-reaching in its effects to have that knowledge. But people suffer from lack of knowledge on so many levels.
So the last little bit, I want to share screen, and I want to share with you a little bit about making some food. You know, this time of year, if I can get that out of the way, this time of year we get a lot more vegetables. We get a lot more fruits. We have a plethora of things, and it's very good to put this into your diet. So something that people I think know how to make is potato salad, but I want to share a few little hints on making excellent potato salad, how to clean it up, and then I want to just give you something that you kind of already know, and then how you can add to it. So one thing about making potato salad is I really like to use Yukon Golds. To me, they're low starchy. This is the best time of year to eat some of these because they're in season. They've come out, and when I boil them, I like to make them where you can see this crack in it. Now, one of the key things when you're making a really good potato salad, I leave these thin skins on. I kind of break them up a little bit while they're, you know, after I've drained them. And the next thing you really need to do is put some chopped onions on there, on those steaming hot potatoes, because that steaming hot potato is going to, I mean, that hot potato is going to steam these raw onions. And the amount, it's just kind of up to you. And I like to chop them pretty thin. And actually, these are just a hair bigger than I like them. I like them real little because I like them more cooked personally. But then what's important to do right away after you get those onions on is to put a little vinegar on it. And with potato salad, I personally like white vinegar on it. It just adds that vinegar zest without changing the flavor. I'll use apple cider vinegar and other things, but I put a little bit of the white vinegar on them, and it changes that flavor. Right at that point, it gets into those little cracks, and this is what makes all the difference. This is what makes a good potato salad. It gets in there, and it starts to convert that starch. So let me get back further. So anyway, that gets on there, and then I let it sit for a little while, let them steam while I'm doing other things. And then I will maybe add some seasonal vegetables, whatever you got, some red peppers, some carrots, some parsley, little yellow or red cabbage. This depends on what you have, what you like, what's in season. So throw them on there. Use a good salt. I really like this Redmond's Real Salt. It's from an ancient sea in Utah. This comes from Utah. It's funny, we were looking up the Himalayan sea salt, which is okay, but it's not even from Himalaya. I think it's from Pakistan. And then again, these are from their old sea sources. It was an ancient sea a long time ago. So that's why they're inland. But a really good sea salt, I like, again, the Redmond's Real Salt, because it's got a lot of the other minerals. It's not just sodium chloride, but I'm still a fan of salt. Sodium is a good mineral in my mind because it's a great alkalizer. Now, the perverted forms of sodium, sodium nitrates, monosodium glutamate, also known as MSG, not good forms of sodium. But salt, celery, which is high in sodium, and good sea salt is a good alkalizer. This, you know, if your body didn't have enough sodium, your stomach lining wouldn't be able to make itself. It would burn out. You know, the sodium constantly.
Eaten by the hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, it would be eaten up by the acids that it makes. So the sodium helps to keep it intact. You need sodium to make healthy joints. If you don't have enough sodium, your joints, you're like bone on bone. That's one of the things that helps keep them that stuff in solution.
Also, bile contains a lot of sodium, or it should contain, which is how it alkalizes the acid stomach contents coming into it.
Yeah.
And you create bicarbonate and bile, it alkalizes because of the sodium.
So good salt is good. And then I like to use a good mayonnaise. This one is pretty good. I like the oil in this one, grapeseed oil. I'm not a fan of no eggs and veganese, but I like this mayonnaise. It's good, and I don't like disturbed oils. Oil is really good. You have to make sure you get quality oil because they so quickly go rancid, and then it becomes like varnish in your body trying to get rid of it. So this one is good.
So you're saying you use this because of the oil.
Exactly.
Not because it doesn't have eggs.
Right. Now,
Right.
I like eggs, and I wanted just to make sure I stated that because we're talking about cholesterol this time. And I did find another mayonnaise. I just didn't find a good picture of it. It was, I think, called Sir Kensington. And it was made with sunflower oil and organic free roaming eggs. And I thought that was pretty cool. So that one is a good one in my mind. It's not refrigerated, so that was probably my close second, where this one, the Mayonnaise, is refrigerated. So I wish I could find a refrigerated one, you know, which shows me it's got a real good oil, it's less affected, and
It doesn't have
eggs.
preservatives.
Say again?
Right?
What?
It doesn't have preservatives.
Correct.
If it's refrigerated.
Yeah. So that it's a real good, and it's fresh, you know, it keeps those oils refrigerated, which is what they're supposed to be. So that's kind of why I put that one more than the other. But there's some more out there, and I guess it might be local with some of the ones that are made. But anyway, I really like eggs. I like a good mayonnaise with this potato salad. And I said the other vegetables, just, you know, liven it up. And we're just using that same recipe, just throwing in something of whatever's fresh. And then you get a more colorful, nice potato salad. And it looks really good, and it's nice and creamy. And I don't like to cut the potatoes in little pieces, too much work. I'm real heavy-handed with it. I will just use my spoons, and I kind of mash and stir all at the same time. And it really makes it better, because when you're mashing and smushing this all together, it mixes all that flavor, you know, as opposed to having those little pieces of potato cut up with not enough flavor, and then you kind of get this, I don't know, lukewarm or just this mediocre kind of potato salad. It's just like, yeah, it's like you don't taste potatoes and you taste too much of the sauce, and it just never flew in my book. But when you do it this way, like I was telling you, with the potatoes, hot potatoes, put that onion and that vinegar. Vinegar is really more important. If you don't like onion, you can probably skip it, but the vinegar is a must at this stage to make the best potato salad ever.
We had a question, about using avocado mayonnaise? I've never had it, have you?
I haven't had it, but I've seen it, and I guess it's like you like the taste. You know, when you're making something like potato salad, you want really kind of like a bland kind of a taste, and it's got to have, I like the little bit, and it kind of carries it and makes it creamy, and you add the salt and the vinegar to it to give it that extra flavor, because the potatoes have that real astringent, what would you call it? It's like a homey flavor, a hearty flavor. So yeah, I don't know. Try it and see if you like.
Then you can always use some of each and then different proportions. Experiment and see what resonates with your taste buds.
Yeah, if you like that flavor, if it's a good mild flavor, try it. Yeah, absolutely. And years ago, I used to make my own mayonnaise. I should probably do it again. You know, you mainly start with a good oil and egg yolks. And then you kind of start beating the egg yolk, you know, with a little wire whisk or even a fork. I've done it in a couple ways. And then you start incorporating more oil, because you're making an emulsion. You're taking like that yolk and you're putting a little oil in with it, and it makes it thick right away. And then you add more oil until it gets this big thick mass. And then you flavor it. You put in some salt or some mustard or some vinegar, and you're making a sauce. Really, mayonnaise is just it's an oil sauce. That's you're making this emulsion where you're making this thick concoction. Whoever thought of that was brilliant. I mean, it's wonderful. That's a great food. So anything else you'd like to add, Bobby, today?
No, I think we saturated pretty much.
We're good. All right, so TUBEROSEhealing.com. That's our website. You can go get the PDF that Bobby mentioned today. Check out our pocket protectors. Private message us on the pocket protectors, or you can go to Bobby's Robert Bro Facebook page. We put a link on there. You can click it and it'll take you to the pocket protector. We're still trying to get a few things set up on the website to order it all the way. But if you want one, either private message me today or this week, because we're still getting these PayPal links, or go on Robert Bro's Facebook page, because you put a link on there that works, that goes to it. All right. So thank you all for coming and for sharing and for being part of our natural healing study group. We hope that this information really helps you. You like to deep dive a little bit into these situations and problems and solutions and give you the best information that we can. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Keep the light shining. Namaste.
Namaste.